My beloved child, before you even spoke a word today, before you opened your eyes this morning, before the sun rose over the horizon of your life, heaven already knew your name. And I need you to understand something right now, something that goes far deeper than what your eyes can see, something that reaches beneath the surface of everything you have been carrying in silence. You did not stumble upon these words. You did not arrive here by accident or by chance. There is no such thing as coincidence when it comes to the hearts I have chosen, and your heart is one of them. Something in the unseen realm stirred today and brought you to this very moment, this very breath, these very words. And I tell you with all the authority of heaven behind me, this is not random. This is appointed. You have been on a journey that most people cannot see and fewer still would understand. A journey walked in the quiet places, in the hidden corners of your heart where no one else was allowed to enter. A journey marked not by applause or recognition, but by endurance. By the kind of faith that does not make noise, that does not demand an audience, that simply keeps going even when every reason to stop seems justified. And I have watched every single step of that journey. I have been present in every room you walked into feeling invisible. I have been beside you in every moment you smiled on the outside while something deep within you was quietly breaking. I have never looked away, not once, not even for a breath. There are things I want to speak to you today that I have been waiting for the right moment to release, and that moment is now. I want to speak to the version of you that has cried into silence and wondered if those tears were even noticed. I want to speak to the version of you that has knelt in prayer in the middle of the night, whispering hope into the darkness, unsure if any of it was reaching anyone at all. I want to speak to the version of you that has felt the weight of waiting press down so heavily that it became difficult to breathe. Because that is the version of you I love most deeply. Not the polished version, not the composed version, but the real one. The one who has kept going even when keeping going cost everything. Let me take you back. Think about the moments you thought would break you. The seasons where you looked at your life and could not find a single reason to believe things would ever change. The nights that stretched so long you thought morning might never come. The relationships that unraveled in your hands even as you tried with everything in you to hold them together. The doors that closed in your face after you had gathered every ounce of courage to knock on them. The prayers you offered up that seemed to return to you unanswered, or at least unacknowledged in the way you needed most. You carried all of that. You carried it without being asked, without complaint, without understanding why it was yours to carry. And I want you to know that I saw the weight of it. Every ounce, every moment. I saw what it cost you, and I did not look away. Some of you have walked through betrayal so deep that it rewired how you trust. Someone you believed in, someone you opened your heart to, turned away when you needed them most. Or worse, turned against you. And you had to make the decision, in the rubble of that broken trust, whether faith was still worth having, whether love was still worth giving, whether you had anything left to offer a world that had taken so much. And yet, here you are, still standing, still listening, still hoping, even if that hope is fragile, even if it flickers more than it burns. I want you to understand something with great clarity. The fact that you are still here, still reaching toward the light, is not a small thing. It is one of the most powerful testimonies heaven has ever witnessed. There are people who will never know the depth of what you have come through. They see you now and they have no idea what it took to get here. They do not know about the nights of wrestling, the mornings of weeping, the afternoons of forcing yourself through routines that felt meaningless just to make it to another day. They do not know about the internal battles that never showed on your face, the grief you processed in private, the fear you confronted in secret. And that invisibility has sometimes felt like loneliness of the deepest kind. the loneliness of being surrounded by people who do not truly know what you carry. But I knew, and I know, and what others could not see, I recorded in full. I want to tell you something about the silence you endured. That season where heaven seemed sealed, where your prayers seemed to bounce off the ceiling and fall back to the floor unanswered. I need you to understand that silence was not absence. It was not rejection. It was not my indifference to your pain or my negligence toward your need. Silence, in my hands, is never empty. It is full. Full of movement that your eyes cannot yet perceive. Full of preparation that takes place in realms beyond what you can sense. Full of the most careful, intricate work of building something in you that only silence could build. When I am quiet, I am not still. I am working in the deep places, in the foundations, in the hidden architecture of your destiny. The silence you endured was not punishment. It was the sacred space where I was doing my most important work in you. And the confusion, my beloved, the seasons where nothing made sense and every direction seemed equally uncertain. When you stood at the crossroads and could not hear my voice clearly enough to know which way to turn. When you second-guessed every decision, questioned every prompting, wondered if you had somehow wandered outside the boundaries of my will. Let me tell you this clearly. Confusion is not a sign that you are lost. Confusion is often the sign that you are standing at the edge of something new, something larger than your current understanding can fully hold. When the familiar maps no longer work, it is because I am taking you somewhere that has not been charted yet. I was not confused about your path. I was simply asking you to trust me through the portion of the road that you could not yet see. I also remember the hopelessness, the days that felt like endless gray, the mornings where the simple act of rising felt like climbing a mountain with no summit in view. I remember the moments when the future felt not like an open road, but like a wall, solid, immovable, with no door visible anywhere in it. I know what it feels like to watch someone I love sit in the fog of despair and not be able to make it lift the way they want it to lift, the way I know they are begging for it to lift. But what I also know, what I need you to hear, is that I was in the fog with you. I did not send you into it and watch from a safe distance. I walked into it beside you. Every moment you thought you were alone in the darkness, my hand was on your shoulder. Every breath you took in the heaviness, I breathed it with you. You were never as alone as it felt, not for a single heartbeat. Think about the losses, the things you had to release that you never wanted to let go of, the people who left, the dreams that dissolved, the versions of your future you had planned with such hope and such care, only to watch them fall apart in ways you did not plan for and could not control. Grief is a weight unlike any other because it does not announce itself. It comes in waves at unexpected moments, and it has a way of reaching back through time and catching you off guard when you thought you had found your footing again. I know the shape of your grief. I know which losses cut the deepest. I know which names still make your heart ache in a way that words cannot fully describe. And I want you to know that not a single thing you lost was lost without my knowledge, without my presence, without my intention to bring redemption to even the most broken places of that story. You thought certain seasons were punishing you. You thought the delays were a sign of my displeasure, that the closed doors were evidence of your unworthiness, that the setbacks were my way of telling you that you had somehow disqualified yourself from the good things you had dared to believe in. But I need to correct that understanding now with great tenderness and great truth. Delay is not denial. A closed door is not a declaration of your worth. A hard season is not a verdict on your character. Every single thing that felt like setback in your journey was actually set up, not because suffering is meaningless, but because in my hands, nothing is wasted. Not pain, not loss, not confusion, not grief, not the years that felt like they were swallowed by wilderness. In my hands, every single thing you endured was being woven into something. You could not see the weaving from where you stood. You only felt the threads being pulled through the needle, and it was sharp, and it was disorienting, and it hurt in ways that were difficult to understand. But from where I stood, I could see the full picture, and it was becoming something beautiful. And now I want to speak to where you are right now. Not where you have been, though that testimony is powerful and valid and sacred, but where you are in this moment today as these words reach you. Because something has shifted. You may not feel it dramatically. You may not have a sudden burst of emotion or a rushing sense of certainty, but there is a threshold you have crossed quietly in the unseen places, and I want to announce it to you clearly. You have come through something. You have endured what was placed before you with a faithfulness that was not perfect, that was not without struggle, but that was genuine. And genuine faithfulness, the kind that holds on even when it is trembling, the kind that keeps going even when it cannot explain why, is the kind that moves heaven. I am looking at you right now, in this moment, and I declare over you, you have passed the test. Not because you did everything right, not because you were always strong, not because you never doubted or struggled or felt the pull of despair, but because you did not quit. Because somewhere in the deepest part of who you are, there was a seed of something that could not be fully extinguished, and that seed held. And everything I am about to release into your life flows from that held seed, from that faithfulness in the dark, from those prayers you offered when you were not sure they were reaching me. They reached me, every single one. There are doors now that were not open before. Not visible doors, not the kind you can see with your natural eyes right away, but doors that exist in the spiritual architecture of your season that are now being unlocked. Opportunities that were held in reserve until the right moment, the moment when you were ready to carry them without being crushed by them. There are relationships being arranged, not ordinary connections, but strategic ones. People who carry pieces of your purpose, people whose paths were always meant to intersect with yours in this season. There is provision being released that does not look like what you expected, that will come from directions you did not anticipate, because I do not move in predictable lines. I move in ways that make it unmistakably clear that I am the source. There is healing coming to the places in you that have waited the longest. Not just physical healing, though I am touching your body, renewing your strength, restoring what has been worn down by the weight of too many hard seasons. But healing in the interior places, the places where trust was broken, where wounds have been quietly festering beneath the composed surface you present to the world. I am moving in the places you have not been able to fully surrender because the pain in them has been too raw to touch. I am moving in them now, gently, precisely, with all the care that a father gives to a child who has been hurt deeply and needs to be handled with great tenderness. The healing I am bringing is not surface level. It goes down to the root. And I want to speak about your identity, because one of the most significant things the long seasons of struggle can do is erode your sense of who you are. Whisper to you that perhaps you are less than you believed, that perhaps the vision you carry is too large for someone like you, that perhaps the things you have hoped for were naive or presumptuous or simply not meant for you. The enemy is patient and he is strategic, and one of his most reliable tools is the long, quiet erosion of identity. The drip, drip, drip of discouragement over time until you can no longer clearly see the person I made you to be. So hear me clearly. You are not who the hard seasons have tried to tell you that you are. You are not defined by the losses. You are not summarized by the failures. You are not limited by the gaps between who you are today and who I have called you to become. You are my chosen, marked before the foundations of the world, equipped in the furnace of your testing, refined by exactly the fires that were allowed to touch your life. Do you understand what chosen means? It does not mean easy. It does not mean free from hardship or exempt from the battles that shape character. It means set apart. It means seen and known and designated for something that carries weight and significance in the story I am telling across history and eternity. You were not placed on this earth to blend into the background. You were placed here with intention, with specificity, with a purpose that is uniquely yours and that no one else can fulfill in the way you were designed to fulfill it. The very things that have made your journey harder than others, the specific shape of your suffering, the unique contours of your wrestling, those were not errors in the blueprint. They were part of the design. Because what I am asking you to carry into the world required a preparation that could only come through what you endured. I also want to speak to your relationships, because I know that some of the deepest wounds in you did not come from circumstances, but from people. From the ones you loved who did not love you back with the same measure. From the ones who promised and then left. From the ones who saw your vulnerability and used it rather than honored it. From the ones who were supposed to be safe and proved themselves not to be. I want you to know that every one of those wounds is known to me in detail. I am not asking you to move past the pain prematurely or to pretend that forgiveness is simple or that the work of healing happens in a moment. But I am telling you that I am restoring. I am bringing into your life people who will honor what others have disregarded. People who will see the treasure in you and treat it accordingly. People who will be faithful in the way you deserve to have faithfulness shown to you. The relational landscape of your life is shifting, and what is coming is so far beyond what was taken from you that when you look back, you will see the exchange as one that was worth enduring. Your destiny is not behind you. I want to address that lie directly because I know some of you have begun to believe it. That you waited too long, that the window has closed, that the years of hardship have put you so far behind that catching up is no longer realistic. That version of your story is not true. My timelines do not operate the way human timelines operate. I am not constrained by the logic of missed opportunity. What I have purposed for your life is not subject to expiration. The calling I placed in you before you were born has not faded. The assignments I wrote for you have not been given to someone else. You are not too old, not too broken, not too far from where you thought you would be by now. You are exactly where the journey has led you, and from exactly this place, I am able to move in your life with a speed and a power that will make up for everything that felt lost. I want to talk about what is coming in the practical places of your life, because I am not only the God of spiritual experience, I am God over every area, over your finances, over your health, over your work, over your home, over every ordinary, everyday dimension of your existence. There are streams of provision being opened that were previously blocked. There are opportunities aligned with your gifts and your purpose that are moving into position. There are situations that have been stuck, decisions that have been delayed, breakthroughs that have felt perpetually just out of reach, and the resistance that was holding them back is being lifted. I am moving in the practical dimensions of your life with the same intentionality with which I move in the spiritual ones. Because you matter to me wholly, not just the soul of you, but the full human being of you, living in the real world with real needs and real pressures and real hopes that need real answers. There is a new song being placed in you, not a song you have sung before, not the melody of survival or the rhythm of barely getting through. A new song, one that carries the sound of someone who has been through the fire and come out the other side knowing something they did not know before, knowing that they can endure, knowing that I am faithful, knowing that the promises I make do not expire and do not fail and do not bend to the pressure of circumstance. This song will reach people who are still in the middle of what you have already walked through. Your story, the full story, the wilderness and the coming out of the wilderness, is going to be a lifeline for someone. It is going to be the thing that keeps someone else from giving up. The very endurance you thought was just about surviving is going to become a gift to someone who desperately needs to know that it is possible to survive and then to flourish. So lift your eyes now, my beloved, not with the strained hope of someone who is trying to force themselves to believe something they are not sure of, but with the settled assurance of someone who has been told something true by someone who has never lied to them. I do not lie. I do not promise what I cannot fulfill. I do not speak into your life words that are empty or decorative. When I say that your best days are ahead of you, I mean it with the full authority of who I am and the full knowledge of who you are and what I have prepared. The morning you have been waiting for is not a distant abstraction. It is closer than it has ever been. The turning point you have needed is not theoretical. It is real, and it is happening in the seen and the unseen, in the practical and the spiritual, in every dimension of your life that matters. Everything you went through was leading somewhere. The losses were making space. The silence was doing deep work. The confusion was standing you at the edge of a new territory. The grief was not the end of the story, but the sacred cost of loving deeply in a world that is still being redeemed. And you, my child, you chose faithfulness through all of it. You did not choose it perfectly. You did not choose it without struggle, but you chose it. And that choice, made again and again in the quiet moments when no one was watching and nothing was easy, has been seen, has been honored, and is now being answered. Walk forward, not because everything is resolved, not because every question has been answered or every wound has been fully healed, but because the one who holds every answer and every healing is walking with you, has always been walking with you, will never stop walking with you. You are not alone in what comes next. You have never been alone in anything that has already passed, and in every moment still to come, in every room you have not yet walked into, in every season that awaits you beyond this threshold, I will be there first, preparing the way, holding the light, making it possible. You are my beloved child. You are chosen. You are seen. You are held. And this is not the end of your story. This is where it begins to make sense.